Hey folks, Mark Murphy back with TravelTube.com, the travel expert channel. Why do we call ourselves the travel expert channel, Mark? Are you an expert? You know what? Not as much of an expert as a well-informed travel advisor. That's just a fact. And that's why I position travel advisors as the actual travel experts. So as I do that and charge you no money and do this on my own time, what do I get in return? Some of you still sitting on the sidelines, which is, in a word, pathetic. Yeah, I'm talking to you, the travel advisors that, will be like, hey, I'm really glad you're supporting us, but I'm not going to sign up for your free newsletter, or I'm not going to follow you on podcasts, or I'm not going to follow you on social media. Make it make sense. So that's all I ask you to do. Do those three things. Follow us on your podcast apps, follow us on social media, and sign up for the newsletter. That's all I ask. I don't ask you to give me any money. And I'm using my time and my money to support you. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. You think you can get off your ass and do that? I hope you can. And yeah, I'm a straight talker. You either like me or you don't, but I tell you the way it is. And now I'm going to tell you the way it is with a whole bunch of stuff this week on TravelTube.com. First up, I'm going to get into travel advisories and the ones we're seeing from overseas about traveling to the US and how dangerous it is. Then I'm going to get into how Amsterdam is going to save the environment by making sure you don't see a hamburger ad on a billboard. Yeah, that's true. They just banned ads for meat and fossil fuels in Amsterdam. Next up, the big story in the last couple of weeks, Hantavirus and cruising. Yeah, should you be worried? Should you cancel your next cruise? We'll get into that. Also, what the hell is up with that flight going into Newark that clipped a truck with its landing gear, as well as a pole trying to land? I think it was runway 29. We'll get into that. How did that happen? And man, like what's going on? What's going on with our ATC and our pilots? Of course, airlines never fail to take advantage of an opportunity to cut costs. Delta's doing that right now, cutting food and beverage on flights under 350 miles. Is that a money-saving move, or is that just a common sense move? I'll get into that. And the last thing I'm going to cover is how to boost your bottom line while addressing customer needs and making your customers happy. That's the lineup for today. So again, I'll remind you, follow us everywhere and sign up for our newsletter. Now let me get into travel advisories. What's up with the United States? Is it too dangerous to travel here? Should people outside the United States be afraid about coming to the United States because they're going to get shot and killed on a side street? No. First of all, the travel advisories almost universally talk about gun violence in the United States. But there are studies that show if you eliminate the 5 worst urban areas for gun violence, because that's where most of it's taking place, we go from being almost dead last in terms of safety to one of the safest places when it comes to gun violence. What's up with that? Well, what's up with that is the criminals that don't care about laws in those poor urban areas that are dealing drugs and are littered with gangs and gang violence, they're the ones that are creating most of the gun violence. And if you eliminate those cities, we move up into the top tier for one of the most safest places in the world when it comes to violence and murders, et cetera. So what's the trick with advisories? Well, let me give you a Mexico example. Mexico can have a countrywide, like, do not travel, or be really careful because of cartel violence, et cetera. That's for the whole country. But when you drill into the Cancun area, you drill into Cabo, et cetera, you'll find that they're very safe. And they might have a level 2 warning or whatever it might be, level 5, level 4, level 3. They'll talk about it, but the overall scope is that it's really dangerous to travel in general to Mexico. Anybody in the industry knows that that is categorically not true when you get to the tourist areas. And again, if you're smart, you're not going off into some random local neighborhood deep in the heart of the, I don't know, like the suburbs of you, if you would, or the outskirts of the major tourism areas. Let's take the Cancun hotel zone. And you create your own problems. Are you looking for drugs? Red flag. Are you, are you just like wandering around aimlessly because you don't know any better and you're too naive? Problem number two. It's same with wandering around in East Harlem at 2 o'clock in the morning. Really bad idea. And I had an apartment on 126th Street on the west side, and I had another one on 124th Street on the west side of Harlem. I felt much safer over there versus the east side. But would I wander around and walk 10 blocks north from my apartment, given what I know about that area and the projects that are up there and the drug dealing that's taking place? No, I would not. But I was informed because I live there. So again, if you are a traveler coming in, this is what I would tell you. Avoid urban areas if at all possible. Avoid them. And if you are going to go to an urban area, make sure you're in the populated tourism spaces, tourism places that most travelers are going to go to. And you could say this basically about Paris, London. You could pick any major city. They have no-go areas. Sweden, one of the safest countries out there. There are areas that the police don't even go into. So it's not unique to the US, and it's not unique if you have common sense. So again, apply common sense to travel advisories and you will be completely fine. What I do have an issue with is when they reference the fact that, oh, in America, people can carry guns and they can even openly carry them. I can actually see the gun on the guy's waist. Well, yeah, those are legal gun owners. How often is a legal gun owner out there shooting up cities and places? That almost never happens. It's like 0.0001%. So it's not the legal gun owners and the open carry people you have to worry about. It's the criminals that don't care about the laws, that might be convicted felons, like the guy who shot and killed my brother. He was a convicted felon in 1988 who shot and killed my brother. Didn't even know who he was, but he was carrying an illegal gun because convicted felons can't carry guns. And he committed murder, which is against the law as well. So all this talk about guns and gun control and et cetera is really misplaced because criminals don't care what the law is. Do you think a criminal that's okay with killing my brother with a gun is okay, is going to abide by, oh, you can't have a gun? He's already proven that he doesn't care about having broken the law, carrying that gun. Do you think he's going to care if he's carrying a gun as a convicted felon about killing a human being? Probably not. That's where the problem is. So just bear that in mind. Use common sense when you travel. That's what I would tell people. Common sense. Yeah, can bad things happen? Yeah, my family experienced it. Terrible situation, terrible event. Do I worry that I live in Fort Lauderdale? Do I worry about like going out to have dinner and going down to the beach and cruising around? Not in the least. Not in the least. And you shouldn't either if you're a foreigner looking to visit the United States, despite what your local government is telling you about gun violence. Again, just use your brain. Try to think a little bit. And that's all I ask. Now, next up is Amsterdam. Amsterdam is going to save the environment by not letting you see a billboard that promotes SUVs, hamburgers, any kind of meat products, because as long as you don't see that ad, there's no way you're going to what? Oh, go eat a hamburger. Talk about stupid. Yeah, that's just stupid. And we could spend an entire hour talking about the climate change nut jobs out there, because we go from it's warming to it's cooling to it's the climate changing to, yeah, the climate's changing. I mean, it rained a couple of days ago and then, the sun came out, the climate changed. Oh boy. And again, I'll just reiterate, when we had lockdowns, we had the pollution that's contributed by vehicle traffic and jet traffic, et cetera. We had that basically go down by 17%. And that layer of air pollution that was above lots of metropolitan areas and covered, really covers the planet. What was the end result of the lockdowns, et cetera? Well, we had a 17% drop in global emissions, and carbon, et cetera, in the air. 17%. People were locked in their houses, unable to travel, unable to work except remotely. Kids weren't going to school. Buses weren't running, on and on and on. And in some cases, it lasted for well over a year, in some cases into 2 years. At the same time, we saw temperatures spike. Huh? So you cut pollution and temperatures went up. Yeah, because up in the sky, that layer was filtering out some of the sun. And therefore, when that layer dissipated, the temperatures rose. So we had global warming as a result of cutting the use of fossil fuels. Okay. All right. How did they spin that? Oh, they didn't. They just ignored it and moved on. But imagine if you wanted to get to zero like Amsterdam does with carbon emissions by 2050. What are the odds when you lock down pretty much the entire world and you see a 17% drop? What do we need to do? Go back to the Stone Ages? Good luck with that. How many people would die without fossil fuels? No air conditioning in hot climates. Not because of global warming, just because they're hot. What about people freezing to death? Yeah, if you don't have oil and natural gas, how do you heat your home? With batteries? Well, I guess if the battery catches fire, you could have like I don't know, make some s'mores. There you go. And what about hantavirus and cruising? That's been big in the news, right? That ship that left Argentina, and then people were dying on the ship from hantavirus. And all of a sudden, we're hearing from the WHO, it's spreading and it can be transmitted between people, and it's got a 40% fatality rate. Oh my God, guess what? Moderna is working on a hantavirus vaccine. Bill Gates is involved with it. Geez, does that sound familiar, folks? Are you going to fall for it again? Are you going to cancel your cruise because you're afraid you're going to get hantavirus and die on your next cruise? Take a deep breath. Again, use common sense and ask yourself, why is this outbreak happening yet again? Remember how COVID got going? Remember that Princess Cruises ship where they docked in San Francisco and they had those people that had COVID and some people died. And yeah, it was a problem. What happened as a result of that? Yeah, the countries locked down, destroyed their economies, added trillions of dollars in debt that'll never be paid off. Jobs were destroyed, businesses were destroyed, people's lives were destroyed. But hey, we got a vaccine. Everything's going to be great. Familiar? Does this ring a bell? Remember, lockdown. And then what happened? 6 months later, one of the people from the WHO, one of the spokespeople said, we never suggested lockdowns. And then you look back and you go, huh? What do you mean you were calling for them? Yeah, I don't trust these people as far as I could throw them. And Tedros, the head of the WHO, thank God the U.S. is not funding that going forward, because, man, the lies we were told during COVID, I feel like it's COVID 2.0, but this time with hantavirus and little rats. Believe what you want. I'll live my life. I'll take my chances because I could step off a curb later today and get hit by a bus. Maybe the rat's driving the bus. Can rats drive? I mean, would that be a hantavirus death? How about the guy skydiving and his parachute doesn't open and he hits the ground? Oh my God, another hantavirus death. And you think I'm exaggerating? There are people that were shot and killed. They tested them for COVID and they called it a COVID death. There were guys that crashed on motorcycles on I-95 and died. They tested them at the hospital while they were on their last breaths. And oh my God, it's a COVID case. I wish I could say you can't make it up, but we've been hearing that they've been making it up for quite a while. And I would tell you, if you got a cruise booked, don't sweat it. And not only do I say that with conviction, I remember when COVID was emerging and the cruise ships were still sailing, they weren't canceled yet for 18 months. And my wife and her friends had booked a cruise They were going to go on this cruise. It was an NCL cruise, and they were just going to do like a short cruise out of Port Everglades or wherever. Maybe it was Miami. I forget where they went out of. But anyway, they went on a cruise. And I had no problem with my wife going on a cruise, despite the fact that COVID was in the headlines every single day. Why did I feel that way? Because my wife's incredibly healthy. I wasn't trying to get her killed. I love my wife. I've always loved my wife. I want nothing bad to happen to her. But again, I applied common sense to it. I said, who's dying? At the time, we were hearing about nursing home patients. Well, if you're in a nursing home, what's your window of life expectancy? How many comorbidities do you have? And again, people weren't talking about this. They weren't talking about the fact that the average age was 80, that people who were dying from COVID had at minimum 4 comorbidities. So they're obese, they've got high blood pressure, they've got heart disease, and throw in another thing. I don't know. I got the gout. I got the gout, as Jim Brewer would say. He's got the gout. With the masks. And then all of the information. You don't need to wear a mask. You need to wear a mask. You need to wear 2 masks. Masks work, except when they don't. And you need to wear a mask because you might be sick, but you have no symptoms, but you could still kill people. You could still kill grandma. Yeah, relatives of mine were like, you're going to kill grandma. Why are you having her there for Thanksgiving dinner? Oh, you can't go to a funeral. You can't go to a wedding. You can't keep your Italian restaurant open. That's been 3 generations in the family, on and on and on. So yeah, you can live in a bubble. You can be the bubble boy or the bubble girl, or you can get on with your life and ignore the crazies. That's what I choose to do. You decide what you want to do. And to me, traveling is one of the best things you can do to open your eyes to the world and what's going on around you and different cultures, which brings people together, which limits conflict globally. Because if you realize that the people in Egypt are not that different from you, because they want to raise healthy kids, they want to experience the wonders of, in this case, Giza and Egypt. They, for the most part, have similar needs, wants, desires that you have. And that's what I discovered on my travels. And to put it in perspective, I was there during the whole Tahrir Square, the uprising and all of that the media painted as like, oh my God, it's so crazy. Look what's happening in Egypt. Stay away from Egypt. And 95% of their business went away. I remember being at Giza, and I was the only Westerner I could see for everywhere I looked. That was it. And I was like, man, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what is going on here? I'm not seeing any of these things that had been reported on the news. And I traveled all over Cairo, went down to Luxor, filmed all of it, filmed these interactions with people. And it was like, wow, what an eye-opener. What an eye-opener. That's what we try to do here on traveltube.com. We try to basically get rid of the craziness of the mainstream media, because guess what? I do a lot of TV interviews, and 99% of the time, it's about bad news, and it's about hyping the bad news. When in reality, most of the news is pretty good when it comes to travel. But you're never going to have a mainstream media reporter go to Port Everglades and interview people as you go, hey, how was your wonderful, Oceania cruise? Oh, it was spectacular. No, they want to know when somebody died on the cruise ship or fell off a gangplank or, a boat capsized. Like that's what sells. It's the media. If it bleeds, it leads. That's always been the case. So bear that in mind the next time somebody tells you something that's very alarming, and cut through the noise and get to the facts. That's all I ask people to do. And once you do that, you're going to learn that, guess what? Things are not as dire as being laid out. That's just a fact. The Iran war is a great example right now. Oh my God, fuel prices. And they're pounding this. But at the same time, fuel prices were higher in 22. But Ukraine was a good war. That was a good war. Let's go spend $200 billion in Ukraine, and that's really good. And it doesn't really matter. We have to suck it up because we're doing the righteous thing. But Iran, the number one sponsor of terrorism that's been attacking our troops and people around the world through proxies for almost 5 decades, yeah, that's bad. Let's not affect those wonderful IRGC people. I mean, that would be terrible. That would be terrible because look at gas. It's at $4.30 a gallon. Oh my God. Common sense, people. Just freaking wake up. Common sense. And then square the reaction with Ukraine to the reaction with Iran. And ask yourself, as an American, what's more critical for you? The war in Ukraine, which is a European issue, or Iran, which has actually killed Americans for decades and loves to chant death to America. Really? Okay. Some of you are too stupid to know what's actually going on and too blinded by ideology and your hate for Orange Man. Fact, to sort it out. That's completely insane. All right. How about that United flight? I'm sure you've seen it by now. And if you haven't, it's really unbelievable. First of all, have you ever driven the New Jersey Turnpike? If you have, you know that when you're going up the New Jersey Turnpike or south, depending on your timing, you'll see that lineup of planes. You'll see them in the distance, one after the other. It's a busy airport. It's nonstop. And you'll see that lineup. And then you'll see the plane coming over the turnpike very low, but obviously high enough to clear everything. And you go, wow, look at that. That's so cool. If you got your sunroof open, you see it go right over your sunroof. It's super cool. Until the plane comes in, hits a truck, hits a pole, and then miraculously lands. So there's two things on that. One is it shows you that even when something happens on a plane, like clipping a pole in a truck with the landing gear upon landing, that the plane still manages to land and everybody gets off the plane safely. That's unbelievable. Because if that plane was a couple of feet lower, this could have been an unmitigated disaster. You could have seen people on the ground dead and everybody on that plane dead. Now, one of my friends was retired from United. And this is what she told me yesterday. She's like, that runway, I think it's runway 29, is not supposed to accommodate a 767. The biggest plane it should be accommodating is a 757 and a regional jet. But for whatever reason, this was a 767 that was instructed to land on that. She said that pilots in her group said if they got that message from the ATC there in Newark to land on that runway, they would have said absolutely not, and they would have done, a go around to line up a different runway. For whatever reason, and whether this is true or not, again, we don't know yet. We've got to wait for the FAA to do their investigation to tell us what happened and why it happened. But that makes a lot of sense to me. And again, I look at that and I go, thank God that that plane got to the ground and everybody was safe. But boy, talk about terrifying. That is unbelievable what happened. So we'll get to the actual cause of it. But right now, based on the limited information we have, that seems pretty logical. And I would trust the other pilots that saw that runway and said they would never, ever land a 767 or larger jet there for the reason of two, it's a shorter runway and the approach goes right over the turnpike at a low altitude. We'll find out what the truth is, hopefully, but at this point in time, that's the theory I'm going with. You can decide and you can tell me, boy, you were completely wrong. Or really not me, I'm just sharing what the former flight attendant has said based on the conversations she's had with people in the industry who are experienced commercial pilots. See where that goes. Now, sticking with airlines, Delta just announced that I think it's gonna happen around the middle of May. I think around May 19th. They're going to stop food and beverage on any flight that's under 350 miles in distance. So if it's a 349-mile flight, they're going to do that. Now, is Delta doing that just to save money? Is that just a money-saving move? What's the logic behind it? Well, it's definitely going to save Delta money, but at the same time, when you calculate how long a plane that's flying 349 miles is in the air between takeoff and landing, and then getting up to an altitude for a very brief period, and then descending pretty quickly soon thereafter, I think it makes sense. Number one, if you're relying on your sustenance from a nutritional standpoint on a short flight that in the air is going to be max 40 minutes, usually between 30 and 35 minutes. Again, that includes takeoff, where everyone's got to be seated and belted in, landing, seated and belted in. There's about a 15 to 20-minute window for that individual, and it's usually on regional jets, to service that cabin. And many of you know, if you're sitting in the back and it's a full flight, they might not even get to you. But if you're relying on that for your nutrition for the day, can I say the word? Yeah, I can say the word. You're retarded. You're retarded. Oh my God, he said the R word. Yeah, I did. I know the speech police will be out there, but literally I could care less. Go ahead and cancel me. You can't cancel me because I just don't care. But with that said, I believe it's common sense. There's no reason to do that kind of service on a short flight. And yeah, it's going to help Delta save money. And I guarantee, if they haven't already, all the other airlines that do these short haul flights are going to follow suit, folks, because it literally makes no sense. These people in the air are not flying waitresses, they're flight attendants. Their job is, in the case of a problem, to make sure you are safe. That is it. Over and above that, longer flights, yeah, they have to do their service rounds, et cetera. But in the end, their number one goal is safety. And keeping people in their seats, keeping the flight attendants in their seats on those short flights, I think is a smart move. And I commend Delta for doing that. And I think it'll help their stock, not greatly, but slightly, because it'll improve their bottom line. And anybody who bitches about it are the same people that bitch about higher fares. So if you want lower fares, you have to accept less. Can you say Spirit? And with that said, is there really something called a low fare airline anymore? Have you ever priced Southwest, for instance, like one of the original low cost carriers, against any of the mainstream carriers, Delta, American, et cetera? They're right there with them, folks. They're right there with them. There's no such thing. And the only thing that they do, like on a Spirit, is they give you a lead-in fare, or used to, they don't exist anymore. They give you a lead-in fare, and then they pile on all the additional charges that get you right up to what you were going to pay anyway if you had flown a regular carrier, a full service carrier, if you would, not a low-cost carrier. So again, it's kind of a myth. It's been a myth for years, but that's just the way it is. That's just how it works. And last, I'm going to get into how to boost your bottom line while addressing your customers' needs. How do you do that, folks? You're a travel advisor. You sell a trip. Awesome, you sold a trip. Have you ever thought about what else can I provide my clients to meet their needs for this upcoming trip? Let's say they're going to do a river cruise in Europe. Let's say it's a small group. Let's say it's a family reunion. A couple of things you can do. This one won't boost your bottom line, but will boost your status with those travelers. What if you could set up for their family reunion? Let's say they're doing a family reunion trip. They're going to some place, whatever. You've seen the folks on cruise ships, on land, and they're wearing T-shirts celebrating whatever it is, whatever milestone it is, whether it's grandma and grandpa's 50th wedding anniversary, whether it's just a family reunion that they like to do regularly, et cetera. You could basically, as a travel agent, have a shirt design that has your logo on the left sleeve, let's say. On the right sleeve, it might have the date of the travel. And depending on where they're traveling, it might have some information about the family reunion and their Cancun trip, their cruise, their Carnival cruise, their whatever trip it happens to be. And for a few dollars per person, you can basically say, hey, would you guys like to have a custom shirt available for purchase? Or I might even purchase it myself because it's a great value add, especially if I've got a big commission coming from booking all those people. And in my opinion, if it's a trip that pays you a decent commission, I would spend 20 or 25 bucks per person to create those shirts because they become an advertising billboard for me, as well as something that helps the customer remember that I'm the one that planned this amazing trip for them. On the other hand, instead of going and saying, I need to get a list of all the people and, that are going to be on the trip. And, ideally I have all their emails and phone numbers, et cetera. And I can reach out to each of them individually and be like, oh, your cousin Mary, what size shirt do you want? Cousin Jerry, what size shirt do you want? And I can be like I'm working retail clothing, custom clothing. Or I can basically work with a company like Traveling Bags MKE at travelingbagsmke.com, which, as it sounds like, it's a luggage store, but they have all sorts of what you would consider advertising specialty options, meaning they can create custom tote bags, they can create custom t-shirts, they can create anything you basically want. And instead of you being that order taker, you can say, hey, you said you would love to have some memorabilia for your trip or something for you guys to wear as a group on your trip. What do you think about this? And if they say, oh, that would be amazing, it works out to whatever, $22 a shirt. I don't know the exact number, but whatever the cost is, they can actually create that for you, set up a dedicated link. Bert Robertson there can take phone calls, answer your calls, handle all of that for you. And then all you have to do is share the link with that group and say, here's the link to get your custom shirts. You've already got the design done. You've got everything done. They can go look at it. And all they have to do is choose their size. It's on them. And in that case, they would pay for it. On the other hand, if you're paying for it, it's something you're providing them. You give them the link. And of course, they're going to go in and be like, let me claim my free shirt for the trip. Either way, it's a win-win all the way around. And that's something you should think about. But at the same time, let's say someone's taking an Alaska cruise. Hey, Mary, one of the things I would suggest you bring, because the sightseeing is amazing on an Alaska cruise, do you have binoculars? Oh, you don't. Well, I work with this company, travelingbagsmke.com, and I can send you a link and you can go there and you can buy everything from passport holders to luggage tags to binoculars to portable batteries that can charge your phone, or even if they're big enough, and we're not talking big, we're talking like little charging blocks. They can even power up your computer and on and on and on for your trip. If you'd like, I'll send you that link and feel free to go in and pick up whatever you need. The prices are great. The service is great. You got plenty of lead time. Here you go. If you do that and they purchase anything, you can earn, on average, let's say 15% on that booking that they do all the work for. How wonderful is that? And that's a way, let's say you've got a $500 commission on a cruise and somebody goes in and buys, I don't know, a few $100s worth of things. You just added 10% to your bottom line and you did nothing except sign up for their affiliate program, share the link, and away they go. That's it. And as a travel agent, if you need some things for yourself, you can go in and buy your own stuff and get a bigger discount as somebody in the industry. So what are you waiting for? It's a great way to boost your bottom line. It's a great way to provide great value-added opportunities for your customers. They'll appreciate it. They'll appreciate you, and you'll make more money in the process. And that's all I got for you today, folks. So have a great week, and I'll see you next week. We've got some great interviews coming up, and they're from some of your favorite colleagues out there who have just returned from some amazing trips and are sharing that. One of them is going to be about how to build more group business. It's kind of what I'm talking about with these value-added opportunities where they really get to be big numbers, as well as an interview I have with David Chait, who is the founder of Travelify.com, which many of you are familiar with. But I got to tell you, I was blown away because I haven't talked to David in a while about how many things they've added to the mix on their platform, which creates end-to-end solutions that I think everyone's going to be interested in. Even if you're already working with them, there's probably things that you're not aware of that you can take advantage of. Again, that's it. All I ask for you to do is sign up for our traveltube.com e-newsletter. It's free. Follow us on podcast apps, Apple, Spotify, Amazon podcasts, as well as your social medias, whether it's TikTok, which you're all on. I know you're all on it. Instagram, Facebook, you name it. If you do that, I can continue to support you and continue to do what I'm doing and build your business. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.